Hey there. It's been a while since you and me, Sheena, have been together on the Magical Experiments Substack doing a live podcast.
It has been far too long. I'm really excited to be here and welcome Elizabeth Ray.
Welcome, welcome, Elizabeth. And I know we'll have more people showing up here. So I think that, first of all, we're really glad to have people here tending this fire with us. And, this isn't just a podcast, it's a living experiment. Every time you listen, reflect, or share your own practice, you're part of shaping the current that we're weaving here.
And what we're going to be doing a little later in today's episode is giving you an opportunity to share with us some of your magic that you feel like isn't working. So maybe we can workshop that together. So just to give you the heads up and to start thinking about it, if there's anything that you would like to bring to the table today. And we also want to share a couple of other important things. First, and just general update about how our community is evolving on Substack and beyond. And then we're going to dive into kind of the most common questions we hear, which is, why isn't my magic working? So, Taylor, do you want to start with community update?
Yes, I will do those. I'm just taking care of one thing real quick in preparation here. So I apologize to folks. I was looking over because I was kind of setting some stuff up here to make things a little easier for us. Let's get started. So, you know, over the last few months, we've run into a strange limitation on Substack. If we post any paid content, even just a single paragraph at the bottom, then public comments are shut off. In other words, only people who are paid subscribers can actually comment on the post. Anyone else can't comment, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah, I have been stepping my foot quite often because we're not getting the juicy conversations that we want to have. And there's so many other people Substacks that I would love to support in some way. And, having those conversations, we might not be able to support every Substack that we want to financially, but, we can contribute through having those conversations and that dialogue. And we haven't been able to. So it really made us look at ours and go, what do we want to do? So we are going to be shifting a little bit. We have put out a Substack post, but we really just wanted to go over it with you live and kind of explain what we're doing. Yeah. So, Taylor?
Before we get into the meat and juice, then we're almost there. So stick with that. So here's the shift. All of our posts are going to be free and public, open for comments and conversations. This includes past posts that were paid. I'm currently in the process of setting those up to be free. So it might take a little time because there's a fair number of them. Paid membership is no longer about locked content. Instead, it's about deeper connection. Paid subscribers get a 25% discount on all classes, events, and offerings that we offer. They also get the opportunity to join us in the Magical Experiments Alchemy Lab, which is a monthly live gathering where we experiment, share feedbacks, and forge magic together in real time. And finally, paid subscribers get access to the Magical Experiments Telegram group, which is a private space just for members where experiments, questions, and sparks can flow in between the live sessions. And if you're a free subscriber, what you're really getting is you're getting access to all the articles and posts that we put out there instead of so you can actually comment on them. You can see everything that's there, and you're getting that
Ask
opportunity
questions. Yeah. And ask questions and engage. And we're really excited about the Telegram group. We did a Telegram group for our most recent Techno Magic Challenge, and it was such a delight because people could do videos, ask questions, leave voice notes, and kind of have that full range of expression. So we're really excited about that as well.
The other thing that we also want to mention is that we've recently created a wealth magic spirit called Abundantia. And this is a spirit that we created using the custom attention entity. There's going to be a link to that, to the spirit, as well as a link to that class that we did below. Once this post goes from being live to just being a post. But it was one of the most exciting things to come up with, because this is a group wealth entity. And the reason we created it is that, maybe you don't want to be a paid subscriber, but you read an article from us and you're like, wow, that really made an impact. Well, that's another way that you can, quote unquote, donate to what we're doing. And the beauty of it is you get access to Abundantia, the wealth magic entity, and we have a couple of other special bonuses there. So that's something that we decided to do as a way to give people a way to donate or to contribute. They wanted to, but they didn't necessarily want to be a paid subscriber. I get it. Not everyone necessarily wants to subscribe, be a paid subscriber for everything. That doesn't mean you still can't find a way to contribute. So that's something else that we decided to offer.
And she had so much fun. Taylor created this beautiful artistic housing, and we created kind of a whole little different rituals that you can do to get to know her. And how she's really set up is that 10 times whatever the contribution is gets returned to you through fun and magical ways, and gets distributed into our community to those who need the extra financial support and help. So
one thing to really remember is that that Abundantia is how we are anchoring wealth into our magic. It's not about transaction, it's about relationship. It reminds us that community, generosity, and reciprocity are bells too. And that's a really important thing.
Yeah. And Zen, welcome. Thank you for chiming in. We are so glad you're here. And yes, please feel free to.
Yeah, feel free to chime in. And with that, we'll see whatever Zen ends up saying, but we're going to transition to the main topic today, which is the question that I get asked a lot, and I think you've been asked as well, Sheena, which is, why isn't my magic working? Why aren't I getting the results that I want? And if you're on here and you felt that frustration, we've got a special opportunity for you today. We're going to actually troubleshoot with you. We're going to encourage you to post like an issue that you're having or a problem that you're having with your magic, and we'll troubleshoot it on the spot. So that's one of the things that we're going to be doing. And yes, I am going to be on Zen's podcast on Wednesday, tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to it as well.
Oh, details, please.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess because
I'm not in the loop.
Yeah, Sheena's been away on a trip. We've been catching up on things, and that was one of the things that I forgot because there's been a lot going on. So I'm doing a podcast tomorrow on Zen's. It's going to be another Substack Live, and we're going to actually be talking about posts that I had recently put out there about using tapping and magic. And we're going to talk a bit about the power of voice and things along those lines. And I'm sure we're going to explore a lot of other things. So it'll be exciting. And that is going to be tomorrow. I forget what time it is, but I will be there on time. All right. So with that said, let's get into why magic isn't working. Sheena, now you had an interesting point that you wanted to make about this. So I want you to share that first.
Yeah. We tend to be very much, it's all about us and blame ourselves. Like, my magic isn't working. It must be something that I'm doing wrong. We tend to blame ourselves quite often. And while there's definitely things that as magicians and magical experimenters, we can look at and go, oh, this isn't working. Let's see what my part in is and let's adjust. But spells are also cast inside systems. So if you're working within a system of scarcity or disconnection, or you're working like old shadow contracts, if your spirit or your work isn't being fed, whether that's your ancestors or your own body, it's like your magic can get starved. So it's really looking at like the whole ecosystem of the magic spell versus like just the spell or the working or the ritual itself.
All right. So what we're going to do now is dig into some of the most common reasons that magic seems to fail and what you can do about it. And at the end, we're going to share something else as well with you, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So, Sheena, if magic isn't working, if someone's magic isn't working, does it mean that they're broken? Let me ask you that.
No,
That's a tough
no,
question.
no.
I think no. Okay, tell me more.
That's again tends to be our first assumption is I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. And magic is always working. No result is a result. A result that is unexpected or a little different from, what we think is like, this is the controlled outcome. This is the specific way that the magic has to work. Anything outside of that, we say, well, it must be broken, or I must be broken. I must be doing it wrong. But the thing about magic and creating change is you're always creating, you're always having an impact. You're always putting stresses on the system or being in reception to the magic that you're putting out there. So you're not broken.
No, that's true. And I think that that's like one of the most important things to remember. It's not, you're not broken. There are many reasons why something might not work, and it's not necessarily a reflection of you. Or if there is something going on within you, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're broken. It just means there's something to pay attention to. I mean, going back to your point that if you don't get a result with magic, you still have gotten a result. It's just that it's indicating that there's something that didn't work. And I think a lot of times people get so caught up in trying to get results that they don't get curious about why did I get the result that I got, or why didn't I get the result? And that's one of the most important things to really bring to troubleshooting. Why? Get curious. So let's share a few of the common reasons. I'll share what the reason is, and then maybe, Sheena, you can talk about it a little bit. So reason number one that we see, attention leaks. So Sheena, what are attention leaks in this case?
Well, we did a whole class on the hidden harvest and tracking where your attention goes and how it flows and how it's being harvested. Um, but with attention leaks, it's really your energy is being siphoned off by distractions. It could be old contracts, unhealed loops. If your attention is fragmented, your spell doesn't have enough current for it to actually land. It's like you're trying to create a result, and you're trying to fill a bucket, and you have this sieve. You're bringing water to it, but it's all leaked out, so you're never actually getting enough to fill your bucket. And that bucket is your magical reserve. It's your power. It's your attention. It's your focus. It's what creates the changes that you want in your reality.
Yeah, that's great. And I'll share. I want to share kind of like a practical example of that. Like imagine if you were trying to read, and I've done this before, so I can speak to this. Like you were trying to read like 20 different books. You're not going to get very far in any one of those books if you're reading 20 different books. Like you'll get a little bit, but you won't get far. I use that as an example because that's a great example of where your attention has been split and you're not necessarily getting what you want out of it. And I'll just say as an aside that one of the things that I've learned to do is cut down on how many books I'm reading and just focus on a few at a time. But I also don't like reading just one book at a time. So there you go. That's
Well,
something else for another time.
well, that brings up the kind of the cross pollination. I have math on my mind, apparently. That doesn't happen too often. But it's also that idea of like being very multi-passionate. And being a multi-passionate magician is also, one of those things that can be worked with. And we do have some great articles on that, which we are making free and accessible to everyone. So we'll have to put those in the show notes too.
We will. In fact, I'm writing it down right now. All right.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I got you. So the next one is shadow sabotage. Speaking of something else. So what is just shadow sabotage? What's going on with that?
I think all magicians need to be engaged in shadow work. And this is really that parts of you may unconsciously be resisting or undermining your work. So this could be fear or old programming, survival strategies. It could be parts of yourself that think that what you're calling in isn't safe, even if it's really good things. And that's where, as magicians, we sabotage ourselves a lot. It's like, this good thing will change our life. If we actually get the result, our lives are going to change. And there are parts of us that are very invested in maintaining the status quo because it might not be fun, it might not be enjoyable, but it knows that it can survive. So really looking at those shadow aspects of ourselves.
Yeah, this is actually the most common reason I find that people get stuck around results. It's that inner sabotage. It's like a set point. Like, okay, I'm comfortable with getting by, but I really don't want to get by. But some part of me does just want to get by. And I intentionally worded it that way because that's how convoluted these things can get sometimes until we actually look into what's going on underneath the shadow.
And it happens to all of us.
So before we continue on, I just want to kind of check in with the people who are here. One, is it are what we shared so far, is it something that you can relate to? And do you have any questions or comments about what we're sharing so far? And of course, we encourage you to ask them because, as you know, if you've listened to any of us in real time, we definitely answer questions in the moment, and we love answering questions and speaking to that. I mean, heck, we were just commenting on like what was going on with Zen there, so there you go.
Absolutely.
All right, our next one, and feel free to comment at any time if you want or ask questions, folks. Is lack of integration.
Yeah. So this is where we do the ritual, we do the magical spell, but our daily habits, or most often our nervous systems, or our environment don't actually support that change. The survival strategies that think the change you're calling in isn't safe again. So magic is really an invitation, but you also have to walk through the door. And this happens, it happens in magic. It also just happens in life. It happens with, you know, I have done some work in working with clients who are getting off of substances. And the most dangerous time is when, you know, they have gotten clean, they've gone through the program, and then they are put into housing where they're alone. They're isolated. They don't have a community or something to integrate into. So they go back to the streets or they go back to using the substances because that's community. That's what is known. That's what makes the nervous system feel safe, even though it's an unsafe situation. So it does, this is a really big one. And that's why we try to include integration activities, somatic integration into all of our experiments and all of the different things that we suggest, because it's so important. And it does really allow those results to come in and to land.
And I actually spoke about this in the live solo episode that I did a couple days ago. I talked about integration and like why that lack of integration, like what that looks like, and how like it can be really important to allow it to land. And we're gonna at some point in the near future, we're gonna come out with a resource for all of you around integration, because I think it's an important piece of magic that isn't spoken to nearly enough. All right, next one is disconnected ritual. Like a disconnected ritual. Like I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, okay, the plug isn't going into the socket or something like that. What's going on there with a disconnected ritual?
Yeah, there's so many different ways that we can disconnect. I think the big one that we come across most often is that we're running someone else's system without making it our own. You get a grimoire or you get a spell book and you don't really understand kind of what's going on behind the scenes, or you might not understand some of the language being used, or, you're doing it because somebody else said it would work. And, if the symbols and the steps, don't resonate with your lived experience, the spell lacks it lacks the charge, it lacks the attention, it lacks the vitality that really creates the result. And
Yeah.
we have definitely talked about this one quite a few times, because that's where, that's one of the things that I love about magical experiments and experimenting is we make it our own. We look at something and go, oh, I don't, and part of that is like, Taylor's always saying, make it simple, make it as simple as possible, reduce needless complexity. So you're the one to talk about this one.
Okay. Well, yes. Well, I want to say, first of all, in regards to disconnection, that a lot of times what makes it needlessly complicated is that people are doing things that they don't fully understand. So, and I know there's a school of thought out there in terms of magic where it's like, just do magic. You don't need to know how it works. I passionately disagree with that school of thought. I think that is absolutely one of the biggest disservices that it's put out there to people. Because when you don't understand how something works, then you don't know if it is working. And that right there is one of the reasons why people's results don't stick. Well, I don't know why I did this thing or said these words or used this knife here or did any of those other things. But I did it because that's what I was supposed to do. And I was just told, just do magic. Well, you know what? This is where we need to apply some critical thinking. So what I end up seeing a lot of times is that people will end up piling on tools and correspondences without anchoring it into their body, or they'll do the opposite. They'll skim the surface without grounding into the sensation and presence. They're not like fully there with what they're doing. And part of it is because they don't know exactly what they're doing. And the problem with that then is then they also come away maybe feeling like, oh, I'm broke. Well, you're not broken. And this is where like figuring out like how something works is important. One of the most important pieces of advice I could ever give to anyone is don't do something that you don't understand. It's okay to hold yourself back until you understand something or to ask questions or get some help. I mean, that's one of the reasons we're here. One of the reasons why we do what we do at Magical Experiments, and it's been it's been like one of the biggest guiding principles of why I've written books and why I've been doing all the things that I've been doing over the 30 plus years I've been practicing magic. Because I want magic to be accessible for people and easy to understand. I know people love their esoteric mysteries and their occult jargon and stuff like that, but honestly, I don't have time for that. I don't think most of you do either.
Yeah. No, I think that the deeper truth is that magic is a feedback loop. It's like we take action, we reflect, we experiment, we adjust. And if our spells aren't landing, it's not a failure, it's data. And it's we're it's a system that's telling where to look. One thing I'm really curious about is if anybody would like to share how they what do you do when the magic isn't working for you? What's your kind of go-to to start troubleshooting or to start looking at things a little bit differently? So I would love to hear from you.
And if you also have something you want us to troubleshoot with you, the floor is open.
Hmm.
And kind of while we're waiting on that, there is one thing else I want to add to this too. It's, the system's telling you where to look. Part of it is really about feeding the relationship with your body, with your spirits, with your community. Magic isn't a vending machine. It's a living ecosystem. It's a collaborative experience. It's meant to be something that is communal, that joins us together.
Yeah, I think that that's so important, and that's really the foundation of any of the entity and spirit work that we teach too. It's like we're building a relationship. We are building that ecosystem. Where does our individual spells fit into the larger aspects of our lives? How are we meeting all of the different desires that we have, and how are we nourishing ourselves so that the magic can actually land and continue to support us and unfold?
Yeah. So, with that said, do any of you have anything you want to share or any questions you want to ask around this? We're here right now. And we want to really make space with that. Zen said, I have much to interact, but I don't want to pop the bubble yet. I'm going to save it for the conversation later this week.
That's
Okay.
totally fair.
That's totally fair. For the rest of you, though, that are on here live with us, do you have any questions or do you have any things that you're wondering about? Like, this is a great opportunity to ask, and we love hearing from people and getting their perspective.
And that does bring up an interesting aspect of why sometimes we feel like we're not getting results, and that's a matter of timing. Sometimes we don't let things cook or digest for long enough, or we assume that, it has to happen within our own timeline. And as a time and space magician, I'm sure, Taylor, you have some thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, I think that the most important thing is letting go of control around the timing. I've had
Mhm.
some of the most profound experiences, magical experiences, and really just life experiences when I've learned to take my hands off the steering wheel,
Literally.
literally and metaphorically. Um,
Yeah.
that has allowed me to really step into full presence with what it is that I'm working magic with. It has led me to the house that I live in, as an example. It has led me to you, Sheena. It
Mhm.
has it has brought me so many amazing experiences in my life. And a lot of times what I see that holds people back, it's like they're like, oh, it needs to happen at this time in this space and everything else. And don't get me wrong, there are things that you can do in terms of timing, but I have often found that divine timing, allowing something to come through when you need it, has been the most important aspect of the magic, because that's when the result slides into place at just the right moment. And that means letting go of the control, like doing the magical working and then letting go and letting it happen.
And
And I
that's
was
when it
in,
feels the most magical.
yeah. So instead, one take on all of this is you guys have a very well-rounded, grounded understanding of magical work. Well, thank you. I mean, I think between the two of us, we have over 50 years of experience.
That's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been practicing magic for over half my life now. And it's kind of an interesting thing to kind of really sit with that and be like, it's actually the majority of my life at this point. 32 years I've been doing it, and so that's just kind of wild to me when I think about it. And you've been doing it for a fair amount of time as well.
Yeah, I think I started seriously when I was about 18.
Yeah, so there you go. Over 50 years of experience right there, and I think that's important to also recognize, like, especially if you're starting out and new, that sometimes it's just about a matter of getting some experiences, and that's going to take time. And we want to talk about divine timing. Sometimes it's just a matter of sticking with it and doing it over time. Okay, so Zen asks, what are your most significant influences? So Sheena, why don't you go first on this one?
I mean, many, many years ago, I read your definition for magic in Magical Identities, and that really was the first time that I had read any sort of explanation from what magic is that ever made sense to me. So you are one of my magical influences and continue to be so. Um, so much of it has been just life experience and going, I want something different. I want something more. And I think, like, one of the expressions that we use all the time is, yes, please, thank you, more, more, more. And that just opens up so many avenues that both magical and mundane that have been so influential. For me, it's been a lot of trauma work, somatic trauma work, and things that might not be considered like magical, but have influenced and shaped how I relate to magic in the human condition. Um, oh, there's probably so many more. But I think that it's really life, like, and wanting to engage fully with it and having that curiosity. But I
Well,
know you have lots of magical influences too.
curiosity is one of the fundamental drivers as well for me. I mean, that's why I got into magic. It's all the questions I wanted to have answered that weren't going to be answered in one big book called the Bible. I wasn't going to get the answers there. So, and I mean, I would say that I've had I've definitely had some magical influences. Like I think about the work of William G. Gray, who's a British occultist, and one of his students, R.J. Stewart, who I actually happen to have the fortune of studying with for a time. Both of those have had a profound influence on how I think about magic. But then I've also studied a lot of different esoteric beliefs and practices. So, I've gotten into the Taoist practices of magic, Dojin, which is, basically Tibetan Buddhism. And those have played a pretty significant role. And then, of course, I've studied, I studied chaos magic. Some people consider what I've put out there as chaos magic. I don't. I never have.
What's the difference?
Huh?
What's the difference?
Well, for me, the difference is that with chaos magic, there's what they call paradigmal piracy, where they kind of draw on different magical paradigms and kind of put them together. And it might be like, oh, I'll do it today. Today I'll work with Kali. Tomorrow I'll work with Tara. The day after I'll work with Aphrodite or whatever. Or they might do something else along those lines. Or and for me, that's never been the case. It's been like, if I'm going to work with a given system, I'm going to devote my time and effort toward learning that and creating a really strong foundational awareness of it. And then I might take it, synthesize it with something else. But even then in the synthesization of it, it's really about creating a coherent system of magic and experimenting from a grounded approach. And the other difference is that I don't just stick with magical influences. I draw on a lot of non-occult disciplines, which is the other aspect of influence. So for me, I've had multiple areas of influence over the years from what would be considered non-occult disciplines. Everything ranging from the study of literacy and linguistics to architectural design and neuroscience and other things. And I've written about this extensively in my books. And the beauty of that is it has allowed me to come up with some truly innovative systems of magic that are distinct and different and are modern. I mean, that's, for me, magical experimentation is about the evolution of magic. So I think that that's a really important role. So thank you for that question. Now, we also have something for you today. I'm going to post it here in the chat, or put it in the chat, and it's also going to be in the show notes. Why don't you tell them a little bit about Sheena while I do
that? This is just a quick little guide that we've pulled together. And so we did talk about a few of the different main problems that we have and why sometimes your magical results don't manifest. And these are 5 more. And it is, why your spells don't stick. So it's critical mistakes that are blocking your magic, and it gives you kind of an exploration and some ways that you can actually start working with it.
Provides you like an opportunity to explore a quick fix that might be useful for helping you with that. So it lays out the common blocks and gives you some simple somatic magical experiments to start shifting them. So if you felt your rituals stalling, your spells stuttering, or your results not sticking, this guide is going to be for you. We are going to put it in the show notes, but I did just post it in the chat for people if they want to grab it right now. So let's take a moment and recap here. This has been, we had a lot going on. So first, we've restructured our Substack to keep a community at the center, and we welcomed Abundantia into our work as the spirit of communal wealth. And we've explored some of the reasons why magic sometimes doesn't seem to work and how to see those moments as data instead of failure.
Yeah, and fundamentally, magic and living, it's an experiment. And every time we show up and every time we practice and adjust, the current grows stronger and our magic becomes more powerful and our results become more predictable. They're still kind of unpredictable. That's part of the joy and fun of magic, is just seeing how and when it shows up. And the more that we can kind of loosen our control and our need for it to be a certain way, the more we get delighted and surprised. And that's where our results actually start feeling magical and fun. And that's what creates more. Like being in that state of joy and receptivity and gratitude just opens up for us up for more and more results.
So remember, your magic isn't broken. You aren't broken. This is an experiment. And every time you show up, tend the fire, and share your practice, the current grows stronger. We really appreciate that all of you came on here today that were live. And for those of you who watch this later, we appreciate any comments, anything that stands out to you, any questions that you have, feel free to share those.
Yeah, we will be looking at the comments from this episode. And if you want to have any support, if you want to kind of share your experiments or how you troubleshoot or work with your magic, we're here for all of it. So we're looking forward to that. That's why we are making the changes that we are. We want to really be building out our community and just have more options for connection. And, magic really doesn't happen in a vacuum. We are getting our magical results from our environment, from our communities, from other people. So, yeah.
So we'll see you in the comments, in the chat, or in the next Alchemy Lab. And until then, keep experimenting.
Bye.